ladies. Thank you. Today's program is about transformation. Earlier in the year, you heard these two speakers, Noah Schultz and Stephen Fowler, speak about their own transformation. They each had troubled childhoods. Stephen was placed in foster care at age 6. Noah was labeled ADD, ADHD, and a lot of other alphabet things at an early age. They both drifted into a life on the streets, gangs, drugs, crime. Both of them committed a crime at age 17 that caused them to be sentenced to 7.5 years with the Oregon Youth Authority. And each of them decided separately that they did not like the path they were on. This is where their personal transformation began. They decided they wanted something different for their future than where their current path was leading them. They discovered spoken word poetry, and this became the vehicle for them to tell their stories and transform their lives. They got their high school diplomas and enrolled in online college. Noah has his degree, and Stephen will have his very soon. Up and down is yes. They started participating in spoken word contests and winning them again and again and again. I have now banned them from future spoken word contests in Florence because no one wants to compete against them. But even more than transforming their own lives, Stephen and Noah have a mission to help other youth make transformations. Today they will tell you about what they are doing to pay it forward. Please welcome two amazing, inspiring young men who will renew your faith in our future. Noah Schultz and Stephen Fowler.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yep. Can we hear me?
Yes.
Cool. My friend too close to yours.
He gets the cool mic.
Yeah, I got the left. Start off with some introductions. My name is Noah Schultz. I'm a co-founder and instructor for Verbal Escape Poetry.
And I'm Stephen Fowler. I'm the other co-founder to Verbal Escape of Poetry.
And as Betty mentioned, we are both spoken word poets. And I'd like to give a little background on how Stephen and I first met. When we were 17 years old, we were both placed in a juvenile detention center in Portland, Oregon, where we were both 17 years old at that time.
Yeah, he was separate crimes. We never knew each other. And so the first day I met this man, he was not a man yet. He was a boy. And so was I. Let's just say we were two different people. Yet when you're young and you can see that someone else is destined to do something, you just know. You know that feeling when you see someone, you just know this person's going to be great. Well, that's what I've seen when I've seen him. I guess he's seen the same in me. I didn't know that at the time. But 7 years later, here we are.
And Stephen and I, our stories and how we were both sentenced to, is that my mic that's doing that?
I think so.
You're just too
I think you're too
You're
close
too
to
close.
this
It's
one.
not, see, I still like
How about you
it.
just go to the back of the room?
Hold this, we'll share. We'll share.
No, you're fine. You're okay.
I'll just move this.
All right.
There you go.
So Stephen and I were actually sentenced on the same day to the same amount of time for different crimes. So at the age of 17, we were both sentenced to 7.5 years of prison. And while Stephen left at an earlier time than I did, I stayed in the detention center for about a week more. We met back up in every facility except for one. So throughout this whole journey, we're both 24 now. And throughout this whole journey, we've been at the same facilities together. And in that time, our friendship has grown, and we've both been able to see each other develop and grow into the young men we are today.
Most definitely. Well, with that, we're talking about being poets, and we gave you how we first met, but now we're going to get into a little poetry just to give you some examples, I should say.
Exactly. We can talk about being poets all day, but the best way to show what spoken word poetry is to give a real life example of what that is. So the poem I'll be performing for you all today is called Prison Stories, and it's the one I did at the Big Wave Poetry Festival. Growing up, My father was my hero. The one person I was convinced was invincible. He sat before me as a symbol of strength. His life struggles were written in every vein. Long days of hard labor had him looking like Popeye. They also prevented him from being home and spending time. We used to make it up through our monthly trips to the grocery store. We used to go shopping at Winco late nights. My father hated crowds and couldn't stand long lines. These trips were a privilege. One he reserved for his two oldest kids. During our rides, he would entertain my brother and I with prison stories. Getting his nose broken in a group fight and stabbing a guy through the hand with a fork in the lunch line. We were taught that there was nothing worse than a cop. And if you were ever caught snitching, you could find yourself lit on fire like the biker in the auto body shop. Each story would end the same. We were told that prison was a horrible place and that his mistakes were lessons. Now I know he told us these things with good intentions, but my mind interpreted them differently. I wanted to be like the man in front of me. I wanted to wear the cape of my hero. First it began with schoolyard fights. Then it escalated to me staying out all night. My dream to fill his shoes became his nightmare. He began to lose his son as I aged with each year. 2009, he began to lose his son as I aged with each year. It was my turn to be the man from the stories. I got respect from the pistol I was holding, never knew I had it aimed at my own head. 2009, I was sentenced to 7.5 years in prison. The same exact time my dad did in the state pen, which had me asking if this was a cycle or coincidence, and how many other kids were sitting in the same circumstance. Handcuffs on their wrists fit perfectly like a twisted family heirloom. Prison is not an heirloom, yet it is passed down through the same lips that say I love you. Fathers, carefully craft your messages for your children before you send them. In an attempt to emulate their hero, they might just become the villain. Essentially what spoken word poetry is a way for us to tell our stories. And in that right there, I told you about my father's impact on me, and just the examples we might set without knowing, and just how careful we have to be with our words when the young people are listening.
When I was a boy, my childhood was a bit different than the conventional childhoods depicted on Disney Channel and Nickelodeon. I would see dining and living rooms filled with laughter, family play nights, and the occasional sibling rivalries. My mother and fathers would symbolize parental acceptability with just the right amount of love, humor, compassion, and smiles. These smiles would make me smile though my skin was unfamiliar. These smiles would make me see past my own situation. My earliest living room memories are of lying on cigarette-stained carpet next to mostly empty Old English bottles with The Lion King on repeat as my babysitter. The closest thing to family play nights was when my mother invited her bloodshot-eyed friends over, and with the instructions of her, I would have to retreat to my room to play with my toys. I loved my mother. To me, she ran her home with a firm strength because she was a queen. She was the queen of chili dogs, the macaroni and cheese queen, even the cuddle queen of warmth. She was my queen. It didn't matter to me that her crown was formed from a cloud of crack smoke, or her throne was the confinement of our drug-infested apartment. Her riches was from government-aided funds, and her king was another man, then another man, then another. She was my foundation. So when DHS came in with comforting words like, You will be okay with us. And the police escorted my mother from her throne. I cried myself to sleep in a foster home that night, learning how quickly our foundations can be fragmented and stripped from underneath us. I was 6 years old, foundationless and broken. As the years passed by, I would look for firm places to set my feet. I would peek around marijuana corners, lift up beer bottle caps, and stare down empty school hallways, searching for a location I fit in, a destination I could belong to, a foundation I could merge with. Now, if you see the patterns of the places I was searching, you would understand why I found incarceration. But incarceration has a negative connotation with it. Only bad people end up in jail. Only criminals get locked up. Only thugs go to prison. I was not a thug. I was not a bad person. I was not a criminal. I was a boy, foundationless and broken, lost. Searching for solid ground, walking on quicksand, I stumbled across incarceration and freed myself. It took me some time, but I now know my foundation. Now, that poem was about the influence of my mother opposed to the influence of Noah's father, and then the losing of my home at an early age and what that did to my life and what that did to me as a young boy. And as you can see, I grew up and I was disconnected from a lot of things, being in a foster home and not really having that love and affection. And so that ended up me getting into the places that I ended up, which was the wrong crowds, the wrong people, the wrong groups, and which ultimately led to incarceration. But in my last 7 years, the biggest growth has happened, and I can attest poetry as being a key factor in what helped me get to where I am. And Noah and I identify this as something that can help many people, because storytelling, it's liberating, it's freeing. You can share your story and other people can hear your story and relate. And human connection is what we're here for. And so with that, we shall introduce Verbal Escape.
So as Stephen said, storytelling is one of the most important things that we have. And there's a reason that it's in every culture from the beginning of time. Storytelling is our native language. And that's something that we wanted to bring with this program, Verbal Escape. I'm going to give you some quick background on Verbal Escape. Verbal Escape is a spoken word poetry program that originated in McLaren Youth Correctional Facility, the largest youth correctional facility in the state of Oregon, which is one of the places Stephen and I were both at for a little over 5 years. And this is where we first created this program. Now, it was ran 2 times in McLaren Youth Correctional Facility, and then college and some other things got in the way. We kind of put it on the back burner. But in 2015, we decided to carry this initiative forward. And we began brainstorming how we can make this better. How could we take everything we learned from all the writing classes that we've done, all the poetry groups, everything, and put it all into one. So we got together and started brainstorming. And we started writing this curriculum, Verbal Escape. We're going to renew it. And with that.
So the reason behind it is because we knew that we were young, 17, 18, 19, and poetry affected us. And we were thinking, what if this was taught to the young ones that were in the situation we were at 16, 15, 14, but we didn't have that outlet. And so maybe we can create this curriculum based for those young people that are already there in that situation and give them an outlet. And so with that,
our idea was to first bring this to the youth correctional facilities, bring this to the detention centers. So we imagine, like Stephen said, when we were 17, how would this be if we would have had this tool? Or
Sally, does this have a mouse?
had this tool for use arrows.
Or hit
Technology, I'm not there yet.
return. Or hit return.
Oh,
There you go,
okay.
there you go.
Got it.
Just a tap on that.
Gotcha.
All right.
I went away.
So yeah, so we were thinking what it would have been like if we would have had these tools for self-expression. So that was our original idea, to bring this to the detention facilities in Oregon, in Portland. And someone challenged us about that, and that was Betty.
Betty came to us and she said, well, young guys, it's great that you want to give this program to other incarcerated young people because that is a voice that needs to get heard. Yet, there is young people everywhere in schools, outside of schools, that need to be heard. And why does it have to just be for incarcerated people? You can do this at high schools and middle schools. And she blew us away with that because we didn't think of this at all. And it was a challenge. Like, we had to go back and think, how could we focus this for high school kids of this time? Because like we said, we were incarcerated for a stretch, so we missed a generation. And all we knew were these young guys that were in jail, which don't have cell phones, they don't have all the gadgets and stuff that are out today. And so we had to base this curriculum on this new generation. And we stuck with our core. Storytelling is the same. Storytelling is going to be here forever. And the power of telling your story will never change. And so we stuck with that and created something that's pretty amazing. But we had our bumps up and down.
Learning curves.
Learning curves, that's what he calls it. I call them mistakes. but just two young men with the help of Betty creating this program with we gotta realize that these kids will be affected for the rest of their lives with the messages that we give them and the messages that they will tell themselves and the labels that society give them. And so it is our job. I heard this quote, one generation plants the seed and the next generation gets the shade. And so with that, we have to be cautious of what we do now because the future is going to be from the young people. And if we neglect them, then what's going to happen later down the road? And I know you guys are in a different generation than us, but you see the difference from now from when you guys were younger, and we see it from us to the 10 and 11-year-olds now. And so the things that we do right now and the things that we say will matter, and letting these young people know that their voice matters and their opinions matters will create young, confident people for the next generation to step up and run our world, run our governments, run our societies. And so with that, we started at the high school at Florence High.
Yeah.
So this is a picture of us in Mr. Tucker's class. And we did 8 presentations, I believe it was. 8 presentations in 2 days. And these kids were some of the most amazing young people we've seen in such a long time. The amount of talent that was in that room was mind-blowing. And the stuff these kids were writing just blew us away. And we found out that teenagers aren't really with getting up and being vulnerable in front of the whole class. They didn't want to read what they had written.
That's not just teenagers, that's everybody.
So what we did was we ran them through what one of our weeks would look like. We wanted to encourage them to come and be a part of this group, be a part of our class. So we ran them through what one of our workshops would look like. And then we gave them a chance to write and share something. Now they weren't with the sharing, but they were with the writing. So they all wrote something. And instead of having them read it, we took their papers and we read it in a poetic tone, just to show them, hey, what you write, once you get that performance behind it, it completely transforms.
And that encouraged them to just do a lot more and write more. And eventually,
Yeah, so through that, we were able to get some students. And then the next piece was finding the place to do it. And we decided to go to the Boys and Girls Club.
now when we got to the Boys and Girls Club, we met with the director, his name's Chuck. And we told Chuck what we wanted to do. We had a couple high school students that wanted to come, and we wanted to use your facility. And he's like, well, I have like 20 young kids that want to do the poetry too.
So we looked outside into the day room area, and it looked like Chuck E. Cheese. There were kids running around, throwing basketballs, kicking soccer balls.
And we sat there and tried to explain to Chuck, we're like, poetry's complex, it's kind of hard, and it's a lot thought-provoking. And he's like, these young people, they're all with that. And we look out the window, and there's just water being splashed, and we're like, oh my goodness. But learning curves, mistakes, no, learning curves.
So we decided to look at our curriculum and pull out the things that would work for this group and the things that we needed to improve on. So with the younger generation, well, the younger kids, middle school, grade school age, we needed to make it a lot more interactive. And that's having them get up on this little stage area and move around while we taught them. And at the end of our 8-week class with the younger group, we found that, because we had some impact surveys to see what they wanted, areas we could improve in. And the one thing that was a common thread between all the kids was the stage activities. So having them get out of school and telling them, hey, let's sit down and let's write. They're not really with that. They want to get up, they want to move around, they have a lot of energy.
Learning curves.
Exactly. So we were able to rewrite our curriculum for a younger generation in that.
And we still managed to get them to write some great poetry as well. And after that, this was our group 1, and right directly after group 1, we would start with a high school group. And we had, we had a few more.
Shakina, Nina, Jordan, Ian.
We couldn't find all our pictures, so this is what we got left. But these young people right here, we worked with them for 8 weeks. We ran them through our curriculum, which focuses on performance, vocal variety, and just being able to write your story with confidence. And at the end, Betty Fra ran a poetry slam, and we had 3 of these young ladies get up on that stage and perform, and they did a phenomenal job, and it made us feel so proud. But more importantly, they were proud of themselves for stepping out and being confident young women that are going to be young ladies that are going to be women one day. And they just, it was touching just to see that what we were able to give them, they were able to tell us and give us feedback like, thank you, you helped us out. And in our minds, we're like, you helped us out. Like, this is, and it's like just the fact that we're able to teach and they're able to receive our message and create their own story from it and build on it. It was amazing. And these are our 2 students.
So these are 2 of our students, and Nikita won 2nd place, and Jordan won 3rd place at the Big Wave Youth Poetry Slam. And the most beautiful thing about this was we were able to tell them, now you can write anything and perform any poem. And these are going to be our future instructors. And that's something that we want to incorporate into Verbal Escape is every student that comes to our program, they are the future of Verbal Escape. They are going to be the instructors who bring this to another younger group of poets. So it's empowering them through giving them that teacher role.
So the cycle shall continue. And
we wanted to put this photo up just because I think it really shows how proud we were of these young people.
This is the award ceremony. You can't see it right now, but I was fighting back tears.
Now, when they came to the adult poetry competition, they got up there, they opened the competition for all the other poets. And I was watching the faces on the people in the crowd. Now, neither of us have kids, but I was imagining that amount of just how proud I was for these young women who were up there. Like, this is how it must feel to have a kid. Like, that's how I related it to.
Don't say that to a group of women. How it feels to have kids. Ladies know.
No, I think also one of the the most touching piece of this isn't just teaching kids poetry. We're taking on a mentorship roles with the young people that come through our program. And one of the things we stress and we let them know from the get-go is that you can call upon us for anything. Job references, you just want to talk to somebody, you guys can send us an email, you guys can give us a call. And we want to be there for these kids for life. It's a family now.
It's a family and a community, and that's what we bring and that's what we offer with Verbal Escape Poetry. And with that, we both are coming close to our end in Florence, Oregon. And so we were looking at the future of Verbal Escape. And we're both going to be returning back to Portland, him at the end of the year, me in the beginning of the year. And which comes to the future, what we plan to do with this program. Like we said, we've worked with these young people here, and we want to build instructors so that way it can continue in Sayusla High, it continues with Frog, it just continues in Florence, and hopefully spread. And once we get to Portland, we want to do the same thing because it's bigger, everything's bigger there. And eventually, we want to make Verbal Escape a leading nonprofit in Oregon for young people, because if you look at a lot of the other cities, they have organizations and programs that are affecting the young people, giving them outlets, giving them voice, and Oregon doesn't have it at all. And so hopefully our program can be the first, and it can continue and strive and be great, because we feel like we have what it takes, and these young people have what it takes. They just need the opportunity and the people to let them know that their voices matter, and for us as audience to listen and let them know that it does matter. And so with that,
occupy the rainforest floor in constant competition for sunlight. I gotta remember these things. It's been a little while. Let me run through.
That's why I have my papers. I'll do a short love poem real quick. My intention was to love you, but I am a prideful man. Traits of loyalty, strength, and stubbornness root deep through my core beyond comprehension, like a rhododendron planted, magnificently beautiful, yet tangled wildly to the foundation. My intent was to show you something right, something different, something real, like a snowflake hitting your face. So simple and small, yet so strong in presence and amazement. My intention was to learn you. Read every page like a treasure map. Treat every chapter like the beginning of the best book ever written. Commit to this education, for it was valued as special. My intention was pure. My intention was to love you, but I am a prideful man, and your intentions were not clear. An unintentional stab after a kiss. Either way, I felt it, then shortly after came the pain.
I'm actually going to do a different one. This one I did about a week ago at a high school graduation, and it's called Reach Farther. To my friends who reach farther than the rule book suggests, I commend you. You have chosen to laugh off the words no and let your desires grow. Knowledge over everything is the drum beating in your life's direction, placing you in a perpetual state of development. Others' opinions on your dreams fall short because they are irrelevant. You, my friend, have found purpose. Words you speak intentional, books you read intentional, steps you take intentional. Each one a brick being placed in the castle of your potential. That's all I got.